Hi, and welcome back to our Mastering Fractions series. In our first video, we explored the basics of fractions. If you haven't seen it yet, be sure to check it out. Today, we're taking things a step further by learning how to simplify fractions and work with equivalent fractions. This is an essential skill that will make fractions easier to understand and use. Let's get started. What are equivalent fractions? Let's begin with equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions are different fractions that represent the same value. For example, 1/2, 2/4, and 4/8 all represent the same part of a whole. To find equivalent fractions, we use multiplication or division. For instance, if we start with 1/2 and multiply both the numerator and denominator by 2, we get 2/4. Let's try it again with multiplication by 4. 1 times 4 over 2 times 4 equals 4/8. Pretty simple, right? Finding equivalent fractions. Now, let's practice finding equivalent fractions with a step-by-step example. Example 1. Find two equivalent fractions for 3/5. Step 1. Choose a number to multiply both the numerator and denominator. Let's multiply by 2. 3 times 2 over 5 times 2 equals 6/10. Step 2. Repeat with another number. Now, multiply by 3. 3 times 3 over 5 times 3 equals 9/15. So, 6/10 and 9/15 are equivalent to 3/5. Simplifying fractions. Simplifying fractions means reducing them to their simplest form, where the numerator and denominator have no common factors other than 1. Here's how to do it step by step. Example 2. Simplify 18/24. Step 1. Find the greatest common factor, or GCF, of the numerator and denominator. The GCF, or greatest common factor, of two numbers is the largest number that divides both of them without leaving a remainder. The factors of 18 are 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, and 18. The factors of 24 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, and 24. The greatest common factor is 6. Step 2. Divide both the numerator and denominator by the GCF. 18 divided by 6 over 24 divided by 6 equals 3/4. So 18/24 simplifies to 3/4. Why simplify fractions? Simplified fractions make calculations easier and results clearer. Imagine using a recipe that calls for 8/16 of a cup of sugar. Simplifying it to 1/2 makes it much easier to measure. When simplifying. Before we move on, let's address some common mistakes people make when simplifying fractions. 1. Not dividing by the greatest common factor. If you don't use the GCF, the fraction won't be fully simplified. For example, dividing 18/24 by 2 gives 9/12, which can still be simplified further to 3/4. 2. Dividing only the numerator or the denominator. Remember, you must divide both parts of the fraction by the same number. 3. Skipping simplification altogether. Always check if your answer can be reduced. This is especially important in math problems and real-world applications. Practice problems. Let's practice what we've learned with a few examples. Grab a piece of paper and follow along. Problem 1. Find two equivalent fractions for 4/7. Solution. Multiply by 2. 4 times 2 over 7 times 2 equals 8/14. Multiply by 3. 4 times 3 over 7 times 3 equals 12/21. Problem 2. Simplify 45/60. Solution. The GCF of 45 and 60 is 15. Divide both by 15. 45 divided by 15 over 60 divided by 15 equals 3/4. How did you do? Don't worry if you got stuck. Just rewind and try again. Practice makes perfect. Today, we learned how to find equivalent fractions using multiplication and division. We also explored how to simplify fractions step by step and discussed why it's so important. In our next video, we'll tackle adding and subtracting fractions, including how to work with like and unlike denominators. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss it. And don't forget to practice simplifying fractions on your own.